Welcome to Alphanumeric, a compendium of poetry and fiction selected by the staff of Zoetic Press. This week, End of the Line. There's a saying that goes, "We all have to go sometime." It's wrong, of course. Come join us.
It's fun when you let go. Finn recovered quickly after his body teared, wrapped his scar around the tree, but his legs still hurt on those long nights he spent on his feet. This was his first job, and he really enjoyed it. It was important work too. He worried, however, when he wasn't at home. Most nights, Mom was passed out on the couch. Someone needed to make sandwiches for Casey's and Stella's school lunch and check their homework before bed. He ran towards the carousel at the carnival that never left town. He calmed uneasy children who drifted out of the dark mist, coerced the little laugh out of them, then gave them their best night ever. Tonight, his little passenger kept him waiting by the arched gate. Finally, 3 children emerged from the fog, and he welcomed them inside. One was a thin, bowed little boy in pajamas, his skin yellowed from rounds of chemo. Next came a girl with blood on her shirt, her limbs broken and bent at weird angles. She tottered along without any help from Finn. The third boy, not more than 5 years old, dragged a huge suitcase behind him. When Finn tried to take it, the little guy cried, "No, it's my bed!" "A suitcase isn't a bed," said Finn. "Yes, it is. I've been sleeping there for days and days." Finn winced. This one hurts, but he was about to make everything okay. "Your bed might get broken on the merry-go-round. I would hold it for you. You can get it when you finish the ride." The child will never come back for it. He led them to a corridor ablaze with colored lights that stretched forever in the distance. He led them to a corridor ablaze with colored lights that stretched forever into the distance. Smells of hot dogs and fried dough wafted everywhere. The carousel was spectacular. Every kind of animal was there: brightly painted dinosaurs, horses, teddy bear, wolves, and more. 3 little mouths dropped open in awe as they pressed forwards. "You don't need a ticket," Finn told them. "Go around as many times as you like. Get off when you're ready." He let them take their time choosing their mounts. He didn't ask their name. The smallest kid often couldn't remember and got upset if Finn pushed them. They would tell him if it was important. He figured Chemo Boy would choose something imaginary. Children like him loved magical characters. He climbed aboard the purple dragon. The girl chose a swan, something that would glide rather than bounce up and down. Suitcase Boy took a black horse stretched out in a full gallop. Finn understood. The children's imagination was racing far away from everything that scared him. Gone in 4 trips, he predicted. Before he started the ride, he found the girl who has chosen the big friendly dog 2 days earlier. No one has ever ridden that before. Her little white-knuckled hands gripped the pole like they were glued. She wore a weird grin, teeth clenched like her jaws was wired. It wasn't. Finn could almost hear some big scary adult screaming, "God damn it, you smile when I tell you to smile." By the end of her first night, she trusted Finn enough to whisper her name, Violet. Her jaw relaxed just a bit when she saw Finn approach, but she flinched as he patted her mount. "I can't tear you two apart, Violet," he said. "Having fun?" He saw fear in her eyes. She was trying to think what the safest answer would be. It's okay. You don't have to tell me, he said. He hopped off the carousel, started it up, then jumped aboard again. He mounted the horse next to Violet. I want to show you something cool. Look at how the lights all run together as we go by. Violet's eyes flickered away from the pole, then to Finn's face. The grinding teeth parted slightly. Pretty rainbows, she said. Now watch me. He threw his arms wide as the ride whirled faster and faster. See, it's even more fun when you let go. Something close to a giggle leaked from her throat. Finn grinned and went around with her 2 more times. He dismounted and watched as his passengers flew by. 3 times around, and Kimo Boy was gone. The happy ones always left quickly. After 4 times, Broken Girl raised a crooked arm and waved. By the 5th time around, she vanished. Meanwhile, Suitcase Boy extended his arms, crying, Look at me, I'm flying. Yes, you are, said Finn. Then that little guy disappeared too. That left Violet. He waved every time she streamed past, shouting to her, You are doing great. Then, miracle of miracles, she let go of the pole, her hands resting on top of the dog's head. On the next pass, Violet raised her arms. Her mouth relaxed into a big open-mouthed smile. One more round and the carousel was empty. Mission accomplished, Finn, said a voice behind him. Boss says it's your turn now. He turned to find a girl about his age, standing behind him. Why? Am I fired? You got promoted. She extended her hand. My name is Beth. I'm your replacement. But you don't know. I know what you know. She lifted her shirt, exposing old secret bonds someone had branded her with years ago. I can't go yet. I'm waiting for Casey and Sella. Your sibs? They're not coming. Why not? Finn's eyes filled with tears. Honey, they're all grown up. They have families of their own. Beth nodded towards the carousel. Boss says you were fantastic. Now you get a turn. He nodded and smiled, then took a running jump as the platform whirled past. He had always liked the wolf. It was kind of metal as he swung his leg over the saddle. Beth called to him. Remember, it's more fun if you let go.
Heartswarm. She takes her heart out of her chest and drops it in her cup of tea. The milky biscuit liquid doesn't change color at all. Heart's blood is invisible, as everybody knows. She exhales a few times, trying to fill the ghost-gray hole in her chest with breath, but it fills instead with ghost-gray memories. Something is gnawing in the pit of her gut. Intestines knot. She stretches forward into something vaguely resembling exercise, but lacking both the dedication and grace. Static electricity in her forehead crackles. She turns her mind's eye to those ghost-gray memories. In her mind-gut-heart, she sees a staircase. It is halfway up a wall, halfway up a ruined wall, inside a ruined building. The upper walls are thick with ivy. Gut knots. She steps closer into the memory as if it were a photograph. Silken silver wraps around her. Like being submerged in chemicals, the memory starts to take a form. A pigeon rustles in the ivy, then flies up toward the sky. This is a monochrome world hidden behind a rattan sunset filter. Polarized clouds. The sun a star-like point cascading symmetric rays, each one at a 35-degree angle. Hello, she calls into the center of the memory graph. Her words echo. That doesn't make sense. The ruined walls only reach halfway to the sky. There isn't enough raw stone for the sound to echo off. Besides, she thinks, you can't Doppler shift selenium. Then, stop trying to be clever. Then, take a walk around. A tall, middle-aged man in a hard hat is leading a tour group. Investors, directors, press officers. "Here we stand," he gestures, "in what used to be the kitchen. Back in 1708. She sighs and walks away, leaving the investors, directors, and press officers to their lecture. There is a forest behind the ruins. It is also behind a rusty fence and rusty barbed wire. Signs say, "No trespassing," and "Trespassers will be prosecuted," and even "Trespassers may be shot." Nevertheless, she trespasses. She knows the secret way into the forest, her childhood deep map, north-northeast, then along the farmer's track, then sharp south back through a rhododendron grove. This is where, as a child, she made her dens. This is where, as a child, she saw her first fawn, wide-eyed and terrified, cross-legged in the long grass. This is where it looked up at her, and she reached down to it. This is where it froze and then bolted, bounding off into the forest. This is where she heard her first ever gunshot. This is the grave of the shotgun cartridges. This is also where she saw her first rabbit snare, and, meters away from the snare, her first rabbit, dead from myxomatosis. First time she saw her father, the tall man in a hard hat leading the investors, take a rock and spare a creature its suffering. There are other memories, too, beneath the rhododendron grove, mostly bad. This is where she ran to when she ran away. This is where she dragged her friend to when she forced her to run away. 2 8-year-old girls hiding out below the silence. Then they slipped off out of the shadows into miles of time. Other memories still, the dog-tooth trousers ripped at the seam, the twist of barbed wire, the sound of a shout, the sound of broken promises, of tilled earth curses. Every second spent in this forest was an act of trespass. "I'm tired," she says. "I want to go home. I don't want to see any more ghosts. I'm tired of this past, these beechwood whispers. I'm tired of the fairy glens and bent-tipped needles." Her gut stomach knots again, and she exhales. She pulls herself back out of the amber gray and back into the present, where her lukewarm teacup is still filled with her heart. She has only taken a few sips, and the gap inside her roars with skeletons. "I still need to fill this hole in my chest," she says to no one. Inside the hole, the skeletons dance. She thinks they must be having a tea party. "We did that once," the skeleton says. "Do you remember? Do you remember how we danced in the darkness beneath exposed brickwork, tripping over exposed wires and tubs of lime mortar?" Her gut knot says, "Oh yes, I remember." "And do you remember how we used to roller skate upon the concrete, as if we were normal children, as if we were playing?" "Yes," she answers. "And I was always ashamed because I couldn't move in inline skates. Same with the great pogo stick experiment. The concrete floor was so hard and bumpy, I was always afraid I was going to fall." Years later, she'll wish she had a tarmac childhood. There are ghosts, though, and they do want to talk. They haven't seen her in such a very long time, some 20 years, she thinks. 20 years since I last snuck into that forest, or got burned by the ivy, or ran my fingers over sandstone walls and granite graves. The ghosts want to sit in the plastic lawn chair up on the 3rd floor. The later 3rd floor, when there was a 3rd floor and not empty air ruins. When the staircase led to somewhere else, not the bare halls of Hades or some other dimension. 20 years of a city life she's lived. 20 years of winding rivers, thumping bass, and open secrets. 20 years without the stars, without cold air. Even the frost-driven, snow-slush, woolen-wrapped winter streets aren't cold. She knows. Not like those dark Scottish winters. not like the ghosts of haunted paintings. The painting of the woman in the snow, the painting of the woman whose eyes follow you around the room, the painting of the woman whose left hand folds over the right on one morning, but whose right hand folds over the left on the next. The painting of the woman who steps backwards in the snow, never letting a flake touch the hem of her skirt. The painting whose little dog sometimes appears in the lower left corner and sometimes in the right. No, there are no winters like that in the city. She has half finished her cup of tea. Her teacup heart is half drying out. There is an underground car park between the swimming pool and the laundry room. It is a cavernous monstrosity of private parking, chock full of Mercs and Beamers. She walks across it, hearing her memory feet echo on the concrete. There is color here. The pillars of the car park are painted the pallid hue of Dijonnaise, the finest quality Dijonnaise. She walks quickly, very quickly, to the other side. Tenement buildings, the kind where artists and writers live, the kinds where people choose to live when they choose to suffer for their art. Let's not stop here, she thinks. Let's return to those dark swaths of ivy. But the ivy is too noisy, too busy. There are, so many ghosts. So many fans, so much clamor. She has too much of an urge to climb up those forbidden stairs, those impossible stairs suspended halfway up the wall tower. Oh, how her inner ghoul child wants to run up those stairs, disappear into the cloudlands or the demon fires that lay behind them, and how she thinks of the ladder once that stood propped up against that wall, so close to those forbidden stairs, so tangible, and how she thinks of the ladder man who turned to her and smiled, and then he fell down to earth with a crack. And how now the ladder man is too a ghost, standing tall and strawberry blonde in this his ghost light, smiling down at her, telling her it's not too bad to be a ghost, telling her it was never her fault, and she must never feel guilty, and he is at peace, like all the other ghosts here, the other ghosts who call so loud and jostle and smile and reach out to her after so long. So long. There's a full moon above the chip shop, the city wrapper. Because music is forbidden, she doesn't get the joke. There are wire grates and broken glass and gunshot wounds and slashed tires here. But she doesn't dwell in this smoke-solid ghost city. You can't Doppler shift selenium. The mug is empty. Her heart looks sad, not to mention endangered. She takes it out and puts it back in her chest. The ghost gray hole is plugged for a while, but she knows it won't last. It might be small enough to fit in a teacup, but it's far too big to be locked up in her chest. Umami of Inhumed Sin. You never halted, unearthing where the light was dread to fall, shearing my garden inside out for the umami of inhumed sin. Shovels slid in like an admirer, then broke like a blade in bone. I fed you dirt and you wolfed it down, reminiscing it was verity. Shearing my garden inside out for the umami of inhumed sin, you pulled up skeletons that hadn't even wrapped up dying. I fed you dirt and you wolfed it down, reminiscing it was verity. While the worms penned amour letters I've never dispatched. You pulled up skeletons that hadn't even wrapped up dying, your mouth stuffed of monikers you couldn't have known. While the worms penned amour letters I've never dispatched. You barked. The earth moaned when you pressed your weight in. Your mouth stuffed of monikers you couldn't have known, burrowing past roots to stumble upon thirst under stone. You barked. The earth moaned when you pressed your weight in. Humus tastes like rust hemorrhaging from senescent gashes. Burrowing past roots to stumble upon thirst under stone, I gazed upon bloodied flowers sprung away from your hands. Hummus tasted like rust hemorrhaging from senescent gashes. Bones fissured under your sleek fingers like friable promises. I gazed upon bloodied flowers sprung away from your hands. Shovels slid like an admirer, then broke like a blade in bone. Bones fissured under your sleek fingers like friable promises. You never halted, unearthing where the light was dread to fall. Wax promises. My mother-in-law hears about the promise shop from the Jinjia man. She brings us 3 cups of blood-red liqueur from his cart and announces we will be heading there next. I remind her I'm not interested in promises, wax or otherwise. It's my vacation too, she says. No, I tell her. It really isn't. Then, for the 3rd time in our 9 days in Portugal, she begins to cry. My husband, Manny, moves quickly to comfort her. It's not that I don't care. This is hard for everyone, I know. I simply have not accepted the fact she is here on the last trip I will ever take with my husband. Manny's primary concern is, as it has been the past 18 years of our marriage, Donna Isabel's comfort. He says the shop is the least we can do since I refuse to attend Mass or make the pilgrimage to Fatima. With his arm still around his mother's shoulder, Manny guides us through the narrow cobblestone streets of Porto to the shop. Donna Isabel needs time to compose herself. She dabs at the bags under her eyes. The whole scene annoys me, so I go inside without them. The inside of the shop is covered floor to ceiling with molded wax figures. There are houses and animals, but mostly there are body parts. To my right is a neat line of forearms, elbows, knees, limbs bent and cut in every direction. To my left, I find entire babies, ears, a big stack of hollow breasts, and a disturbingly textured tongue. The promises are secured with zip ties or twine, seemingly at random, and hang on hooks dotted on the cork walls. It is horrifying and beautiful. The shopkeeper sits at a table in the center. She is a portly girl, young but dressed much older, all in black with a thick sweater, lace skirt, and headscarf. She asks me what I'm looking for, and I realize I don't know the word. Gallbladder? I ask. The girl smiles and holds a hand in front of her body, moving it up and down as if scanning herself. Where is? She asks. It's obvious she has used this method before. Here, aquí. I point to the right side of my chest at the approximate location of the organ and the tumor within it. The girl leads me to the back wall. This area is for internal organs. She points at a liver. Not this? No, I agree. The girl moves to an enlarged gallbladder, about the size of a grapefruit. I nod. Manny and Donna Isabel enter just as the girl is placing the promise reverently in my hands. We purchased the vesicula biliar for my inoperable cancer, an elbow for my mother-in-law's rheumatoid arthritis, and a little sheep, just for fun. The girl instructs us to leave the promises across the street, at the altar in Igreja do Carmo, so the priest can burn them on our behalf. Manny avoids my eye as he translates. He knows this is everything he promised we would avoid. You said custard tarts and codfish cakes, I want to tell him. You said day drinking and no weird religious shit. When we leave the shop, the Jinjina man is moving his cart along the street. I turn to Manny. I need another drink, I tell him. He argues, but his mother goes to order for me. This is the one thing Donna Isabel does not fight me on. Maybe she's unaware I'm not meant to drink on chemo. Or maybe she knows but thinks drinking may expedite things. I shoot the Jinjina back, then slowly gnaw on the sour cherry as we enter the church. On the altar, there are candlesticks and a head. Donna Isabel adds our promises, but as she takes a step back, her heel lands on my foot. I gasp in surprise. The pit of the cherry shoots to the back of my throat, and the sound of my choking echoes violently through the church. Worshippers turn at the noise to find my husband slamming his palm against my back until the offending object is ejected. The cherry pit has landed on the promised gallbladder, leaving a small stain that seems to spread slowly. We watch as the pit weeps, the juice consuming the gallbladder entirely, turning it red, almost black, in the dim light of the church. We watch it claim the remaining promises, the head, our little sheep, and the surface of the altar itself. Manny and his mother stare at the desecration. When Donna Isabel begins to cry a fourth time, her son does not comfort her. In every one of them. 1. This persecuted mortal coil has uncoiled. Canvas of flesh sloughed off. Brain stopped its idiotic quivering synapses. Hideous heart stilled. Skin predictably grayed. Its only animation, those messily precise scrawls of tropical islands, naked women, wild animals, and dragons. 5 tattoo artists had tried their inky best to make me look a little more interesting. They failed. I'd suffered for their art. I'd suffered in life. No matter the details, much escaped me. Most memories evaporated with my stiffening gray matter. Now I would suffer no more. 2. Brother of 5 fucks, I got that no more suffering part so terribly wrong. 3. Yeah, I'm a discontented ghost. Vampiric homicidal revenant. Evil? Maybe. I tell you this so you understand the mean shit that's boiling in the veins of the fool typing these words. I've possessed those meaty digits, as one does, when it's time to write a little manifesto or tell a little tale. You'd be surprised how much flash fiction gets written by a restless spirit. Short fiction suits us. Only so much electromagnetic juice in our ethereal bodies. We can fret forever if we avoid the gray ooze. More on that below. To it then. Each word a murder. 4. I've killed 1,000,000. No devils nor angels on your shoulders. Just the burden of the angry, restless dead. We're in a race to manifest before we disappear. There's this drifting cosmic swamp of plasmatic gelatin that sucks us up. The gray ooze. That's why we keep moving. Body and brain hopping ahead of the ooze that consumes all. We have to make a lot of sudden moves. It's not sadism, but lethal necessity. Quick synaptic blasts that cause strokes and heart attacks when we jettison to the next host. We leave a trail. Breadcrumbs that the primordial ravenous ooze can scent out. I realized I had to cause a mass event that would make it harder for the ooze to catch up. A macabre panspermia. I needed religion. 5. I found the perfect persimmon tree in the grove that this hippie cult of scientists and artists had set up. Methuselahs. Yes, the darlings wanted to live forever. With desperate spasms of rage, I entered the sap of the tree in the Methuselah's grove and began an ecstatic electrical dance, envenomated the unripe persimmon's toxic tannins. The shibbuol curdled into pure death. Sheol nectar. 6. Bees came and pollinated the tree. Bees, tree, and me. Heavenly Trinity, Elixir Vintners. The gray ooze drifted across the Milky Way at night, so I stayed still. Not a leaf quivered in the night wind. Bees, tree, and me. We conspired for immortality. Yes, lyrical indulgence. Every prophet needs some. 7. Other trees shared in our bounty. Seasons passed. I clung on as sap dried. Spring came. The orchard had been inseminated with our Holy Spirit. Other phantoms were jealous. They flitted about among the stars, darting at planes in desperate imitation of my artistry. Some harassing missile silos or other tools of war and apocalypse. None could till the fields of destiny like me. 8. When the botanist came to test the first fruits of the season, I could feel the ripple of desire on her lips. So I entranced her with a synapse straight to her hippocampus, a leap of faith. She heard me whisper, "Fruits of the gods demand sacrifices." Her eyes glazed. Epiphanies then glistened in her irises. Euphoria, yes, but also the terrible ache in her belly. Bring them here. All Methuselahs have found their God in this fruit. They began to spread the miraculous news. They harvested the trees. Planes and drones delivered the yellow fruits. 9. A mere week to the sacred time. She who had first tasted this most pernicious of persimmons urged each Methuselah onward with earnest passion. After sending the harvest to their supporters worldwide, they must each eat their own dire, delicious fruits. Elsie, it's too yellow. Gotta let it mellow to orange, right? No, Quince. This tree has propagated its nectar early. It's a prodigy, and... She clutched her belly at the stab of pain. You must eat it now. I've heard Gaia's call to us. She whispers from within. We must eat and then consort in the ways of the eldest people. She made eyes like they say Cleopatra made at Marcus Aurelius. Join us in the fruit of forbidden knowledge. We have revived this most ancient of persimmons. It will transform your DNA. It is the true Methuselah. She was their priestess, after all. Quince and the rest spattered their lips with the yellow pulp. All 150 Methuselahs in the sacred grove filled their bellies. And even better, their 1 million followers online watched Elsie with rapt attention. They were ready with the other Methuselahs to usher in the age of Aquarius a little early. They all ate of the jaundiced fruits. They cut the cameras on the stream before the seizures hit. In their agony, they entered into the Methuselah chamber and locked the door. They imagined they could dine on frozen rations till Gaia offered up a new paradise. 10. The dribbling, drooling Methuselahs. They staggered out, retching zombies in the streets. Many feared plague had come, 1 million in one stroke, and in every one of them I floated free. Relief. Panspermia. Ah, yes, the gray ooze was confused. Oh, it still will follow, but it can never catch all of me. This has been Alphanumeric, a production of Zoetic Press. This week you heard It's Fun When You Let Go by Christine Lajewski, Heartswarm by M.A. Horton, Umami of Inhumed Sin by Hannan Khan, Wax Promises by Samantha Correia Pires, In Every One of Them by Jason Harris. Our readers' names are in the show notes. Remember the world before COVID, when we didn't automatically look with panic on anyone in our vicinity who coughed? When social distancing was just avoiding people you didn't like? When our podcast, The Literary Whip, was still a thing? We can't help you get back to the pre-plague world, but we did bring back The Literary Whip as a Substack. Head on over and see what kind of writing advice our staffers are giving to real writers about real pieces they've submitted. Check out the link in the show notes. Non-Binary Review issue number 44, Saying Goodbye to Yesterday, is in production. We're crazy excited, and you should be too. It comes out June 1st, so mark your calendars. Meantime, if you're stuck for something to read, head on over to zoeticpress.com/store to fill up on all the issues you may have missed. At just $5 each, you can get the whole set. We're currently reading for Non-Binary Review issue number 45, Film. If you'd like to submit your work for Non-Binary Review or Alphanumeric, head over to our submission page, zoeticpress.com/submit. Zoetic Press, because humans are hardwired to tell stories.